Hello students. In our previous video, we have discussed the various addressing modes of your 8051 microcontroller. In our today's video, we will be discussing your pins and signals and the interrupts. So let's begin with the pins and signals. This is the pin diagram of your 8051 microcontroller. It's a 40 pin IC, and as you can see here, many of the pins are multiplexed. So here your port 0, so this part, so this section. So this section, your port 0 is multiplied with your lower order data lines. Then we are having your port 2, which is multiplied with your higher order address lines. And among themselves, the address and data lines are also multiplied. That is the lower part. It is same as that of your 8085. You did not remember the pin diagram for this. I'm just showing it for representation purpose. I'll be listing out the important pins and signals. That is the one which we have to look into for our syllabus. So let's start with the first signal, which is your VCC and ground. VCC, if you see here, it is located at this position. On name itself, it is understood that it is connected to a plus 5 volt supply, and your ground is here, which is just diagonally opposite to this IC, and it is also called as VSS, and this is your ground reference voltage. Then we are having these two pins, which is Xtal 1 and Xtal 2. From the name itself, you can understand that it is for your crystal frequency, which you have also seen in your 8085 microprocessor. In the block diagram also we have seen these two pins. This Xtal 1 and Xtal 2, this is used for connecting to the crystal oscillator or the quartz crystal, which produces a 12 megahertz frequency. Then we are having the RST signal, that is your reset. So this signal is used for resetting your 8051, and it should be made high for at least 2 machine cycles. Then we are having your ALE, which is your address latch enable. So again, this is the same signal which you have seen in your 8085 microprocessor. So this signal is used to multiplex between your address and data lines. If you have to latch on to the addresses, then your ALE should be 1, and if your ALE is 0, that time AD0 to AD7 will work as your data lines. So what I do is, the rest of the signals will see it by understanding it individually, and I'll write the important things pertaining to the individual signals. So the first important signal is your ALE, which is address latch enable. It is used to multiplex between address and data lines. So when your ALE equals to 1, that time the address is latched, and then your AD0 to AD7 is used as functionality is similar to that of your 8085. You are very much well aware of that. Let us move to the next pin, which is your EA bar. Now EA bar stands for external access. The functionality of external access I have discussed in depth in the very first video while discussing about your program memory. Please refer that part. Just for completion's sake, I just write if your EA equals to 0, that time all instructions are fetched from external memory, and if EA bar equals to 1, so let me put a bar here also. So if EA bar equals to 1, then from 000 to 0 FFFH are fetched from internal ROM, and from 100H to FFFH fetched from external ROM. So why is this so? We have discussed this in the very first video. I again advise you, if you don't recollect, then please see the first video of your 8051. Now moving to the next signal, which is your PSEN bar. So PSEN bar stands for program store enable. Now what does the signal mean? It is an output pin, first of all. Let me write here, output pin, and it is used for fetching instructions from external program memory. So whenever your 8051 microcontroller wants to fetch the instructions from an external program memory, this program store enable pin, it's an output pin. So this signal should be sent to the external ROM, which is connected to your microcontroller. So whenever this pin will send an output signal to your external ROM, that ROM will understand that that is activated, and it should start sending the instructions to your microcontroller 8051. It is similar to that of your chip select pin for your ROM. You can write here itself. It is connected to your output enable bar. So output enable, or you can write chip select bar pin of external. Now what does this mean? So whenever your 8051 microcontroller wants to get the data from your external ROM, it will make this PSEN bar signal as low. So since this signal is active low, so it will go low or logic 0 as this signal is connected to the chip select pin of your external ROM, so the ROM will get activated. So we have seen the importance of chip select pin in your interfacing chips as well as in your memory interfacing question. So whenever the chip select pin of any IC receives logic 0, so that IC will get enabled or activated. So whenever the external ROM will get enabled, that time it will be in a capacity of sending the required instructions to your 8051 microcontroller. So I hope you are clear with this PSEN bar signal. This is a very important signal along with your external access signal. Now let us move to the next set of instruction, which is your ports, which is P0, P1, P2 and P3 ports. So all these ports we have discussed while discussing your block diagram. They are all bi-directional in nature, so they can function as your input and output ports. Next is they can be configured by means of software. So how it should act, whether it should act as an input or output, they can be controlled by means of software. They are not hardwired. Then the next point is that initially, that is whenever your 8051 microcontroller is powered on initially, if these ports are reset, then they act as output ports. And whenever your microcontroller is powered on and an inbuilt program is loaded and which makes these ports as reset, so they will act as an output port. And if these ports are set by an internal program, then it will be made as an input ports. So that is the configuration of your parallel ports P0, P1, P2 and P3. And this point I have highlighted in your bit addressing mode also, and now also I am pointing out all these ports are bit addressable. So for specific port P1, you are having 8 bits because they are all 8 bits in nature. So P1.0, P1.1, P1.2, all these ports can be bit-wise addressed. So we are done with your pins and signals. Let us move to the last topic, which is your 8051 interrupts. Now to understand this topic of interrupts, we should be clear what is an interrupt, what is the significance of an interrupt. So all these topics we have covered with respect to your 8086 microprocessor. So you can refer that video. I'll just explain you what are the various interrupts related to your 8051 microcontroller, because I don't want to make this video quite lengthy if I start discussing the significance of this interrupt. So please refer that video. Now coming to your 8051 microcontroller, in order to understand what are the various interrupts, we should understand what are the various ports or what are the external peripheral devices which can be attached through various means to your 8051 microcontroller. We know that there are 4 ports which are parallel in nature. Apart from that, one serial port through which the peripheral device can be connected, and apart from that you are having 2 set of timers which can externally interrupt the microcontroller once the count value gets over, T0 and T1. In order to interface all these things, we need interrupts. Now 4 ports, if I am having 4 ports, in order to sequence them or in order to get the required addresses from them, I'll be needing 2 signals. So therefore we need 2 for this. One serial port will have one dedicated interrupt and 2 timers will have their own dedicated interrupt. So accordingly we can list the interrupts. So one is called as external interrupt 0. The second one is called as timer 0 interrupt. The third is called as external interrupt 1. The fourth is your timer 1 interrupt. And the fifth one is the serial port interrupt. And your interrupt priority is in the descending order. So the first one is of the highest priority. So I can write this as the highest priority, and your serial port interrupt is of the least priority. So here this is your least priority. The rest 2, 3, 4 are the intermediate one. So the first is your external interrupt. There comes your priority timer 0 interrupt, and thereafter the third in priority is your external interrupt 1, and thereafter you're having timer 1 interrupt, and the last or the least priority is your serial port interrupt. The interrupt service routine for all these interrupts are stored in the first 36 bytes of your program memory. I can write the interrupt service routine for the interrupts are stored in the first 36 bytes of the program memory. So in that case, what is the address? So 00H, and it will lead to 23H. So this is the total 36 bytes, and because 23 in hexadecimal, if you convert, you will get a total of 35. So 0 to 35 gives you 36 bytes of memory location. Here the ISR values are stored. Now ISR, not exactly the ISR, but the addresses to the ISR, as we have seen in your 8086. Now we need not to understand whether your code segment, because here we don't have your segmentation, so in what manner the ISR is stored, we need not to go into those details. We just have to understand that the ISR for the interrupts are stored in the first 36 bytes, which address ranges from 00 to 23H. Now these interrupts, once they are generated, what happens to your entire program flow? So you are well aware that whenever an interrupt is generated and the microprocessor accepts it, it transfers the content of the program counter and the flag onto the stack. So in this case, I can write, once the interrupts are generated, the contents of your PSW, because PSW in your 8051 is basically your flag, so the contents of PSW register and your program counter are pushed onto the stack. Thereafter, the same sequence which you have seen earlier, vector address, or I can write interrupt vector address of the interrupt to be executed by the microcontroller is loaded into the program counter, and thereafter your interrupt service routine execution can begin. And this has to be done after clearing your interrupt flag. So once the interrupt flag is cleared, it will ensure that no other interrupts gets executed or no other interrupts is encountered by your 8051 microcontroller. So I can make that small note here again. So the ISR is executed after clearing the interrupt flag. Now once the ISR gets executed, what happens thereafter? Any interrupt is basically a call instruction to that specific interrupt service routine. The call instruction is ended by a return instruction, and once that is done, I can write, once ISR is finished, or once ISR execution is finished, then the old contents get popped. So by using pop instruction, gets popped out from the stack. So what are the old contents here we are referring to? That is your PC and your PSW, which was earlier stored onto the stack. So these contents are popped out from the top of the stack, and thereafter normal execution of program continues. So this is how your interrupts are handled in your 8051 microcontroller. It's the similar pattern which we have seen in your 8085 and 8086, so nothing new here. Nothing much difficult to understand. The only point to be remembered here is that the 36 bytes of program memory is used to hold the interrupt service routine, and these are the 5 interrupts which are there for your 8051 microcontroller. Apart from that, the priority is, the highest priority is allotted to external interrupt 0, and the least priority is your serial port interrupt, whereas the remaining ones are your intermediate priorities. Now, this default priority can be changed with the help of a register called as interrupt priority register. So let us understand that. This is the interrupt priority register by which the priorities of the interrupt can be changed from the default priority which we have already seen. It is an 8-bit register. Out of these 8 bits, 5 bits are used, and these 5 bits stands for the things which are mentioned in the table. So PX0 stands for external interrupt 0 priority bit. PT0 is your timer 0 interrupt, PX1 is your external interrupt 1, PT1 is your timer 1, and PS is your serial port. So it's very much easy to remember. The external interrupt, so here it is denoted by a symbol X. So P is your priority, X is your external priority, and since it is external interrupt 0, that is why it is called as PX0. Likewise, you are having PT0, which stands for priority for timer 0, PX1, which is priority for external interrupt 1, priority for timer 1, and the last one is your priority for serial port. You are having these 5 bits arranged in the sequence which we have already seen that corresponds to your default priority. So PX0 is the highest priority and PS is your lowest priority, or it is of the least priority. When we want to alter the default priority, we make use of this priority register. So now how does it function? When we power on your microcontroller, the default priority is taken. So in that case, what happens is all these bits, that is PX0, PT0, PX1, PT1 and PS, they are all set to zeros. These 3 bits, they don't care, so you can consider them to be 0 as such. The first 5 bits are set to 0 when your microcontroller is powered on, or it is also called as power on reset. When we want to assign any specific interrupt as highest priority, okay, or high priority, we set them as 1. So if I want that PT1 should have the highest priority, then PT1 is assigned 1. And if you want to assign any specific interrupt as a low priority, you have to give them a 0 bit. So suppose if I want to make PX1 as the least priority, I will give PX1 as 0. Now, as you can see, there are 5 bits. There can be 1 or 2 bits in this register which can be set to 1. In such a scenario, what happens is when both the interrupts are received simultaneously, suppose your PT1 and PX1 both are set to 1. So in such a scenario, what happens? Both of these PT1 and PX1 will be set to the highest priority. But how will the microcontroller distinguish between the two? When both the bits are set to highest priority, then the default priority sequence is followed to resolve the correct order. So let me write it down for you so that things will be much more clear. So I discussed for your interrupt priority register on powering up, or it is also called as power on reset. So on powering up your microcontroller 8051, all the bits of IP register contains zeros. This means the default priority is set. So the default priority we have seen, what is the default priority? So that will be set. Now if the user wants to change the priority order, he has to assign priority bit as 1, which will give high priority and override the default priority. If it is priority bit, if the priority bit is 0, then assigns low priority, and again it overrides the default priority. Now there may be a scenario in which 2 or more bits can be set to 1. So for example, we have discussed if PT1 and PX1 both of them are set to 1, what happens? If 2 or more bits of your interrupt priority register, let me write here, interrupt priority register is set to 1 and both the interrupts are received simultaneously. So it is not only that both the bits should be set to 1. Along with both the bits to be set to 1, if both the interrupts are received simultaneously, then what will be the scenario? That is what we are trying to discuss here. So if such a scenario is encountered by the 8051 microcontroller, then the default priority is followed to resolve the correct order. For example, your PT1 and your PX1 both bits are set to 1. PT1 stands for priority for timer 1, PX1 stands for priority for external interrupt 1. Now we know that if both the bits are set to 1, the default priority has to be checked to resolve the correct order. So if both the priority bits for PT1 and PX1 are set to 1 and both of them are encountered simultaneously by the microcontroller, that time what is the default order? Default order is PX1 has a higher priority as compared to your PT1. So in such a scenario, your PX1 will get an upper hand. So that will be resolved first, or the ISR of your PX1, that is your external interrupt 1, will be executed first, and thereafter your interrupt service routine of your PT1 or your timer interrupt 1 will be resolved. This is your interrupt priorities and your interrupt priority register. The last topic of your interrupts is how we can enable and disable an interrupt. So let us try to understand this. In 8051 microcontroller, in order to enable or disable any specific interrupts, whatever we have seen, there is a specific or dedicated register called as interrupt enable register. Now this interrupt enable register, the size of it is 8 bits, but out of these 8 bits only 6 of them are used, which are listed here. So what does each of these bits corresponds to? So this is the table here. As like your interrupt priority register, we are having an interrupt enable register. The E here, like for EX0, stands for enable, and X0 stands for your external interrupt 0. Likewise, ET0, that means enable timer 0 interrupt. EX1 means enable external interrupt 1. ET1 means enable timer interrupt 1, and ES stands for enable serial port. Now, and the last one, which is your EA, which is there in the MSB, as you can see here, this bit, the MSB one, EA stands for enable all. Now, what is the significance of each of this? Let us try to understand. When your 8051 is reset or when it is powered on, all the interrupts are disabled by default. So all the interrupts at the very starts are disabled. Disabled means this interrupt enable register, all these bits are set to 0. The value of your EA equals to 0, as well as ES equals to 0, ET1 equals to 0, EX1 equals to 0, ET0 equals to 0, and EX0 also equals to 0. So all these bits are 0. This means all the interrupts are disabled. The user can enable any specific interrupt by making use of the interrupt enable register. If we want that the external interrupt 0, that is EX0, should be enabled, we should make this particular bit as 1. If you want that ET0 should be enabled, so this bit should also be 1. So that is why it is written that EX0 enables or disable an external interrupt 0. If it is set to 0, that means that interrupt is disabled, and if it is set to 1, that means it is enabled. This enabling or disabling is done by the user or by means of a software program, depending upon the requirements. So I hope the interrupt enable register part is clear. We have covered 3 specific topics related to your interrupts. So what are the various interrupts and its interrupt priorities? How can we change the default interrupt priorities? And how can we enable and disable any specific interrupt? So these are very important topics related to your interrupts of your 8051. With this, the syllabus for your end semester exam is complete. In case you have any doubts related to any of the topics covered in any videos, you can mail the same to me or put it in the comment section of that video. I resolve it soon. That's all. Thank you and all the best for your end semester exam.